All right, we're continuing with the skin. We covered all the pieces yesterday of the main organ of the integumentary system, the skin, right? Epidermis, which is the superficial layer. 5 layers of that, right? Stratum basale, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, stratum corneum, with the stratum lucidum in between, if you're in the thick skin, right? No nerve tissue, no blood vessels, mostly dead cells except for that little layer of stratum basale, right? Then we move down into, and that layer is like the waterproof layer, right? Keeping things out. It's keratinized, that protein that makes it harder. Then we move down into the dermis. The dermis is where all the good stuff in the skin is, right? All the nerves, the capillaries that feed the epidermis, the hair follicles, the little muscles that move the hair, which we'll talk about today. The nerve cells that give you light touch and deep pressure are there. That's mostly connective tissue, right? There's 2 layers, the papillary layer, which is right on top, and the reticular layer, the big part on the bottom. The little ridges in it give you fingerprints, right? Those are the dermal papillae. I think that's about a day's worth of lecture in 30 seconds. Okay? And again, this is a diagram. I do want you to be comfortable. Oh, we didn't mention hypodermis, the bottom layer, right? Where you have the big blood vessels, the big nerves, the adipose tissue. There, that subcutaneous fat layer. All right, so we're talking about skin color today, which I think is a very interesting thing. Skin color is produced, and when we talk about skin color, we're talking about resting skin color, like your normal skin color. We'll talk about abnormal, other things that affect it in a minute. But your normal skin color is affected most significantly by the amount of melanin you have. Melanin is a protein produced in the skin by melanocytes, and it accumulates in the keratinocytes. So it's produced in the melanocytes, and then it like stains, if you will, not stain in a bad way, but like colors, if you will, those cells. And the more melanin you have, the more color you have. There are 2 different types of melanin. The brownish black one is eumelanin, and a reddish yellow would be the pheomelanin. I'm not interested in you knowing that per se, but melanin is the key piece here. Are you comfortable? And this is a groundbreaking, life-altering thing for some people. Do you understand that the amount of melanocytes that I possess in my whiteness is the same amount of melanocytes that David possesses in his blackness? No difference in the amount of melanocytes, the cells that make the melanin. So then, therefore, why do we look so different? It produces different amounts. That's it. That's it. There's no other difference. No, you don't have more. It produces more of the melanin. So if that's what you meant by I have more. Yes. Your melanocytes produce more melanin than mine do. Does that make sense? Again, I think that's a key piece to make sure you are comfortable understanding.
So we have the same melanocytes, but different melanin.
Different amounts of melanin. Yep. And obviously the more that's produced, especially the more of this eumelanin that's produced, the darker your skin is.
So the more, what's it called?
Right?
Like those people who are more like black color.
Sure. So this is...
More sulfur in their body.
This is not that it has more sulfur, it's just that pheomelanin actually contains sulfur in it that kind of gives it that yellowish reddish hue. Sulfur, you ever seen it as an element, is yellow. It's this bright yellow. So it's giving some of that property to this protein when it's made.
If you were like analyze their body, they would have like more sulfur.
Yeah, I don't know per se. I suppose potentially, yeah, but it doesn't mean like they're eating too much sulfur or they smell like sulfur. No. It's just in that one protein it contains sulfur. Yes?
What causes the melanocytes to make certain amounts?
It's a great question. So melanocytes are affected by UV rays. All right? So genetically, they produce more than we do. Okay? Where did that come from? I can become darker, right? How do I become darker? I spend time in the sun. right? That sun stimulates those melanocytes to release more melanin, right? Now, no matter how hard I work, I could never be as dark as David, right? That's just not, they're not trained to do that. It has to happen over courses of generations. That same amount, if you keep stimulating them, the theory goes, is that that's how you get somebody who is as dark as he is, because his ancestors spent more time in the sun than mine did. Does that make sense? I saw another hand or did I answer it? Okay. So if we keep having, are you comfortable there's a whole lot more racial mixture that's going on today than there has been in the past, right? So you get a lot more of people who are kind of that in the middle, right? So sure, yeah, I mean, that's a logical conclusion. I think there's always going to be people who are darker or lighter than others, just based upon, you're not always going to go marry somebody who looks totally different than you. Does that make sense? Cool. In the dark-skinned people, the melanin does break down slower. So they produce greater quantities, but it also breaks down slower. And the melanin spreads out more throughout the whole epidermis. Whereas in the lighter-skinned people, it's really, the melanin stays pretty much there in the stratum basale. There's so little of it that it doesn't really go much above that. It breaks down too quickly for that. They're showing you some pictures. This is in your textbook, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they're on page 183. They're just showing you some differences. That as we move up, there's more color. There's darkerness to these upper layers in the dark-skinned person than there is in the light-skinned person. And of course, as your cells produce more of this melanin, again, we'll take somebody light-skinned like me, as we produce more melanin, right, that melanin makes our skin darker. But do I stay summer tanned all year long? No, it goes away, right? Because again, now my cells reset back to their normal amount of melanin, and you slough off, you get rid of that skin that has more. There is changes that happen in it, certainly.
So like if your hair gets lighter, so is the sun.
Sure. Yeah, bleaches it out a bit and then it gets darker, absolutely. Yeah. It's the same, the UV process is actually changing the proteins, lightening those proteins up. Right. You're assuming in the wintertime you get much less sunshine than you do in the summertime. Sir?
How come during the summer we get darker, but then like after time changes we get like the darkness starts fading away?
Mm-hmm. It's because the skin is being replaced. Remember, as you go throughout your days and weeks and months, the skin that's on the bottom that wasn't affected by those UV rays starts growing and moving to the top. And the stuff that was there comes off.
But if we stay out of the sun too long, could it be like we just stay that color?
Sure. Oh, yeah. You see these people, I'm sure if you've been to Ocean City or someplace, and you see these people who live there, and they look like, what, a brown leather couch, you know? Yeah. I mean, they have spent so much time that they have overridden all of this process. Yes. And they die of skin cancer. So, yes. It's not really the best way. Not really the best way of doing it. All right. There are other pigments that can influence skin color. Hemoglobin, which is the pigment that's in your red blood cells and makes them red. That's what gives this reddish pinkish hue to, again, us light-skinned folks. You see that more than you dark-skinned folks. Keratin, which is the yellow pigment from egg yolks, and things like carrots, can also produce this orangey tint. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody who's been doing like this big juice cleanse, and sometimes they've got this kind of orangish hue to them. It's kind of makes me chuckle, like look like a Veggie Tale or something like that. What's that? Like, yes. The spice.
Does that, okay, so I'm just going to Alex, because you have like a pinkish orange.
Yes.
I have more of a yellowish orange.
Sure.
So does that mean?
It can be from that. It can simply be that you've got a little more of that, the yellowy melanin than he does. Yeah.
It's a connected question, but then, like, and again, this is more for lighter people. How come, like for fashion, you can tell which colors are your color based on, like, what color your
I don't know. I assume that has to do with the pigments in your skin, because that's what's kind of showing through the blood showing through the cells of your skin, because again, they're deep down in there, right? They're not on the surface. That's what I'm assuming. Yeah. And we've just called them these winters or springs or these kind of colors. Do you have a question, or did I answer it?
Oh yeah. Isn't that like? So isn't that kind of like some animals, like flamingos? Like, don't they get their pinkish color?
Right, from what they eat. That's exactly right. Based on the shellfish they eat.
So like, if we eat fish, or like no,
I
consume like too much. Like, say if we eat like too much rice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get like white?
So, I don't think there's oodles of those kind of pigments that are in something like a rice versus these animals, these things that they are eating. But yes, that's what we're saying when we talk about how keratin can affect. I have seen people who have a very high vegetable diet, or they're eating all of these, and they look more orange. Like, it is true. Now, again, somebody like you has a darker skin, it would not show up nearly as much, because your melanin kind of overrides that. But us, much lighter folk, yeah, you would.
So there's a story about this lady who she used to eat regular meat and rice and stuff.
Yeah.
And then she just went raw with it.
Yeah.
And her eye color changed. It was brown, and then it became like a clear, like blue green.
What?
Because it like the raw vegetables. She kept eating it so much, and after like 5 years, that's all that was going in her body. So her body was totally cleansed, and her eye color changed as a result.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Eye color is something that changes variably. It's not something that stays constant consistently your whole life.
Everyone has blue eyes, right? Like, technically, everyone has blue eyes under the brown or whatever like that. Isn't that true? Because then there's like a
Oh, there's like more
like
pigments
there's
in your eye.
yeah, but everyone has a blue under the brown.
I don't know the answer to that one.
I heard that.
I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I just don't know. I don't know that. We could do some looking. We can do some checking. Yeah. So your skin color is not only just about like your resting state. It also helps physicians to diagnose things. We can actually see problems based upon the colors that you are. So if you turn blue, we call that cyanosis. And we're not talking about blue like your shirt, right? We're talking, but maybe you've seen somebody who's been choking who has turned blue, right? Or you're very cold, you get this kind of blue pallor to your skin. That's because of oxygen deficiency. You're choking or you're super cold, and we pulled that blood all in, so you don't get that, the capillaries aren't open. Erythema, this would be when you get red, you become embarrassed, right? That's a classic increase in blood flow to the skin, but it makes your skin redder. Pallor, have you ever seen somebody who's like about to faint? They look pale. That's what pallor means. Very, very white almost. And I have seen, I'm sure I've told you all this story before. Mr. Cillier, you all remember Mr. Cillier? Our old acro coach. We went hiking up in the mountains of of New Hampshire. Oh, this is years ago. It's probably 8-10 years ago now at this point. And we got caught in a storm. It was about 70 degrees in the valley. We had shorts and t-shirts on. As we're hiking up this mountain, the weather changed. There was tornadoes in the valley. There was tons of rain. The temperature dropped about 40 degrees. Mr. Cillier is a reasonably dark person, right? He was white. He was like about my color. He nearly died of hypothermia, to be frankly honest with you. We had to get our tent set up quick. We got him in a sleeping bag. We made some hot drinks, and it was fun. It was exciting. But even someone with dark skin can get that pallor. That's what I'm trying to make sure you see. That he was super white. It was not cool. It was not cool. Albinism. I'm sure you've heard of an albino, right? So an albino is a genetic thing where these melanin glands do not produce melanin. The melanocytes don't work. And so therefore, they have very milky white skin. Their eyes are not even blue. They're this blue-gray because they've lost all that melanin production. And so It's very, very, yeah, their hair is very clear or almost orangish, yeah, because you're just seeing the underlying proteins rather than the melanin that's present there. Jaundice is another one that makes you yellow, but it's a different yellow than that keratin does. It's yellowing because your liver is compromised. Your liver's not working right, and so there's an excess of this material called bilirubin in your blood. In your study guide, I wrote it as the hemoglobin breakdown. The hemoglobin is breaking down into this bilirubin, and then that causes, again, this yellow piece. Very common in infants, like newborns. Both of our kids had this jaundice at the very beginning of their lives. The why is just the liver's not quite fully ready to go yet. And so, like, the treatment that you do, there's like these blankets, these lights you can put on them. This is basically giving them UV rays. Light actually causes this hemoglobin to work better and break down the bilirubin. So remember sitting both of our kids actually in their little car seats in the sunshine. That's another way. You send them in the sunshine in just their diaper. They're just sitting there basking in the sunshine. Yeah, it's good times. Sir? Sorry if that picture just like messes you up. That wasn't what I'm trying to do there at all, by any means. Sir?
Last summer, when I was in my office,
Yeah.
it was like, I didn't like really turn it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I had like a whole bunch of gloves because it was like skin
Okay.
in my eyes. And like, I never did the whole sunshine thing.
Yeah.
I had to switch all all my, so why couldn't I just like
It depends on how bad it is. I don't know a ton about the treatment of this other than just in infants, because I've had to deal with it myself, and that's outside the scope of physical therapy. But you're right. Just those treatments work for some forms of jaundice, but not all, by any means. And that is a key piece, especially for the darker skinned population. You notice it more in the eyes. If you've seen somebody who has a really bad liver and you look at their eyes are yellow. The whites of their eyes are yellow. It's really, really strange. But that's one of the great ways to tell. Sir? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, once you start the treatments, it may not be an immediate piece because there's still some time of catching up. But yeah, I like that. Last but not least, we've got hematomas, blood clotting. Are you comfortable if I came and slugged you in the shoulder? Bam! Okay? I may not actually break the skin, okay? But I would break tissues underneath there, right? Those tissues would bleed. That blood may not actually come out of your skin. It would actually stay in the skin. What do we call that? A bruise. A bruise is just simply bleeding under the skin. Okay? So that blood clotting there will cause a color change, right? And it starts off as nice, that black kind of, dark color, and then as it heals, it starts turning a little brown, a little green. You get some funky colors with bruises. It's fun. And that's just the skin breaking down. It's just the macrophages breaking down the products of the blood.
So does that mean that bruising is like a mini hemorrhage?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, hopefully a hemorrhage is usually you're bleeding lots or a continual bleeding. So you can have bruising that continues to bleed. Yeah, that's a problem.
Okay.
That's a problem.
So is it sore because it's bleeding or because
It's sore because tissue's damaged, number one. But yes, those actual blood products in the skin cause irritation. Yeah, that is a painful thing. Yeah, definitely. All right, let's keep rolling. We talked. I didn't put these in your study guides, but are you comfortable that there are the fingerprints, the friction ridges? That's what we call these little things on the ends of your fingers and on your palms. And again, those are from the dermal papillae, right? That make those ups and downs, the ridges and the valleys. You have flexion lines. Like again, if you look at your elbow, you can see the creases in your skin where you have bent it. Those of us who are getting older, you get to see our nice little crow's feet things where we laugh and smile. I think these are good things. I don't know why people are so anxious to get rid of them. I think they look good. because it shows that, hey, you're a happy person. The sad people, you know, they're only the big line. You don't want that. You want those good lines. Freckles and moles, these are simply just where melanocytes are all grouping together and producing a lot of melanin. So therefore, it shows up as a darker spot, right? Freckles are flat. Moles are elevated. That's really the only significant difference between them. You have to be careful because we'll talk about the cancer in a moment here, but these are places where cancer can begin. And for whatever reason, well, not for whatever reason, because melanocytes are often involved in cancer, which we'll talk about, these are places where it's very quickly you see cancer develop in these specific, because there's more melanocytes in that one spot.
So like, I have like, I don't know what, I always thought it was like a freckle or something on my ear, and it's like a dot, and I have it all over my skin, like on my pinky and like different places. But then people are like, oh, that's cool, you have a mole. I'm like, it's not a mole. Like moles are like bumps.
Raised.
So like, what is?
No, I'd call it a freckle. Yeah, even though people tend to think of freckles as very small and just being on your cheeks. But no, there are other places. It can be. Yeah, these are all the same words for the same thing.
Like a birthmark of freckles?
It depends. It depends. Because there's lots of different types. Different types. Yes. So this is a birthmark here. Hemangioma. Hemangioma. There you go. A hemangioma. So those are patches of discolored skin that are caused by little benign tumors. In other words, not cancerous tumors that are in the capillaries. And this is why those look more red. Are you with me? Again, not something you have to know, but just giving you information there. All right, let's talk about hairs and nails. Hairs and nails. These are the what we call accessory organs. Oh, stand up. Let's get you moving a little bit for a second here. Whew. We're rolling along. We're halfway through. I think we can nail the rest of this stuff down here, guys. We're doing good. Stretch, move around a little bit. Yes, we're good. All right. So hair and nails, we call these the accessory organs of the integumentary system. What's the primary organ? The skin. And these are things that help support the skin. All right? Help do other things. So hair and nails are basically made of the same thing. It's keratinized cells, right? It just gets much more compact and much more cross linkages between cells to make the harder nails and hair. So a hair's actual name is called a pilus, a pilus, P-I-L-U-S, not P-L-I. And pili, P-I-L-I, that means multiple, lots of hair, right? So it's a slender filament, this keratinized cells. Again, keratin being that protein that makes it harder, right? And there's a tube that this comes out of that we call the hair follicle. Now, hair covers almost your entire body. Right? Can you think of any exceptions? Where do you not have hair? Your palms, good. Bottoms of your feet, good. Okay, your lips, right? Your tongue actually does have little hairs on it. That's how you taste. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. There's a hair that's involved with that. Yes. I'll show you. We'll learn. We'll see it. No taste buds down there. We're talking about outside your body, though. Yeah, outside your body.
Your ear?
No, there's little hairs. There's little hairs on your ears. Well, palms, right? Palms, hands. Yes, this surface of your hand.
Your elbow. What are you talking about?
You've got a couple of places that are like also on your nipples and part of the genitals, and that's really it.
Don't people have hair on their butt? What are you talking about?
Yep. Again, almost every other piece of skin on your body has hair. Just these couple little places. And the hair plays a number of different roles. Here's the number if you want to know how many hair. Jesus knows the number of hairs you have on your head, right? About 100,000. Wow. Okay, some of us have less, some of us have more. Just depends. They're estimating. They're estimating. They would take a certain... Some have thicker, yes. All right. There is 3 types of hair. I have no desire for you to learn about these, but they are there. You can check them out. Let's talk about the hair structure. So there's the bulb, which is at the very base, a kind of a swelling. There's a good picture that's there. Yeah, we're on page 185. This swelling there, and that is the part of the hair that's alive. That's the part of the hair that's actually growing and actually reproducing, is in the bulb there. Then you have the root, which is the rest of the hair that's still below the skin surface in the follicle. And then you have the actual shaft, the portion of your hair that is outside the surface. And again, that varies greatly on person to person. The shafts of my hair are about that long. The shafts of some of your hairs are about these long. You with me? Okay, significant difference there. Here's that picture showing you the structure. The follicle, there is that tube, right? That there are hair receptors, actually nerve tissue, that is attached to the hair, right? If you come and don't touch your skin, but just on your hair, you can feel that, right? Okay, why do you think that would be important? Okay, if someone's touching you, but more for like invaders, right? You notice that there's a little something crawling on you, or you can feel, it gives your skin better protection because you can sensate more. Does that make sense? You have these little muscles in your skin called the erector pili muscles. If you look at the picture, that's this guy right here, or the piloerector muscle. And what that is saying is, what does that do? Do y'all know?
Makes the hair stand up.
Makes the hair stand up. What do we call those? Like goosebumps or goose pimples. There's a bunch of different names for it. Okay? Why do we do that? Like, I don't know. I don't know why they call it that. I don't know. It looks like that? Okay, there you go.
Not that I want to.
Of course not.
I just thought about this morning actually. Why do we not get goosebumps on our faces and
I think we just notice it more in the hair where the hairs are longer.
like on our faces?
You can. I don't know if there is less of those. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know that one. But what's the point of these piloerector muscles? Yes, they contract and they pull the hair upright, but who cares? What does that do for us as humans? It warns us, okay, because animals use this for what? Like let's take a cat, because they have the same muscle, right? The cat's scared, or it makes it bigger, right? It makes it look bigger by the hair standing up, right? Are you comfortable we don't have enough hair for that really to be useful? Okay? Right? I mean, even like super hairy people, I'm not a super hairy guy, but still that wouldn't give us a whole lot of protection, right? So, what does it do for us? Does anybody know? Keeps you warm. Do this experiment now for me, okay? Close your eyes, and I want you to put one hand, oh, sorry, you got to look at me for a second before you close your eyes. Put one hand on top of your arm, and then close your eyes, and I want you to bring your hand closer to your body without actually touching it. Can you feel the heat? Okay? Carlos is feeling it. It's good. That there's actually heat coming off of you. So when those hairs contract, right? Those little piloerector muscles contract. The hairs stand up. It traps a little layer of air right next to your skin and it actually helps keep you warmer. It's not great by any means, but it does help. Are you comfortable that's how sleeping bags work? This is a total aside. It traps a layer of air around your body. If you are in a sleeping bag that is either too small or too big, if it's too small, you are not letting there be enough air in the bag to keep you warm. If you're too big, it's too much air for you to warm up, and so you sleep colder. I have a classic story. I bought this awesome sleeping bag. It was a negative 30-degree sleeping bag. This army system where you have 2 sleeping bags inside each other, right? And I was so excited to go out camping and test this out. So it was the middle of winter, and I'm like, all right, I'm going on the Appalachian Trail. I'm going to sleep in this bag. And I froze my tail off. And it was maybe 30 degrees or 40 degrees. It wasn't that cold, right? Why? Because the stupid bag was so small, I had to kind of like get myself in this position to be inside this bag. There wasn't enough air in it for me to actually heat. Does that make sense? So I froze. I was so cold. I came home. I was going to stay a whole weekend. I came home because it was too cold. Now I have a tall bag that is much nicer. It's got big down, like big down. Why is down such a good thing? Well, down lofts. Air gets trapped in between the down feathers, and that's what your body heats. You heat that air, and the air keeps you warmer. There you go.
So speaking about sleeping bags, you know, like the bags you get under your eyes.
Yes.
Why does your like skin like seem to like sink in, and then like sleeping is like the way to like I don't know get rid of it. What causes that?
I don't know the answer to that one, honestly. I don't know why they would be caused. Certainly lack of sleep is one of those things. Dehydration is another one. So often it's because of that. But how that pertains, like why right here? I think the skin is very thin right here. Like it's just, there's nothing else really here other than just that skin and your eyeball. There's like that space there, you know what I mean? Before you actually get to your cheek muscles. That's what I'm assuming.
I think something I read was that there's fluid just right here, and that can gather
Okay.
in the eye socket.
Yeah, kind of in the eye socket.
If you don't sleep, you're standing up all the face of gravity.
I got you. I got you. There are different proteins that give you different colors of your hair. Again, I did not specifically have you memorize or learn those pieces, but there are different proteins that give different colors. It's kind of interesting to look at. I didn't mention the other functions of hair. So there's thermal regulation, keeping you warm, sensation, also protection, right? And expression. I think that I might have put that from... That might not have been the right one. When I think of expression, I guess that would just be like, oh, thank you, eyebrows. I'm thinking expression like by how you do your hair. I wasn't sure where I was going with that one. Good. Okay, moving on. See, if I would have just kept going in my slides, I would have seen it right there. There is a bit of a guarding, right? A protection piece, which I didn't mention. Are you comfortable? That's why you have hairs in all the orifices of your body, in your ears, right? They're keeping things out in your nose, right? They act as filters, right? Your eyelashes and eyebrows. The book very much discounted the fact that your eyebrows actually help protect your eyes, like when you're sweating. I think that's a very big function. I'm not sure why they discounted that so quickly. Right, help protect. Yeah, certainly. But they do play a big role in the nonverbal communication. I'm comfortable with that. All right, my apologies. I'm going to go reasonably quick because we've got about 10 minutes remaining. Our nails, okay? These are where the stratum corneum, that topmost layer, becomes hardened. Even more with keratin, okay? What's the functions? Like, why do we need nails? Easy to paint, right? That's the whole function. No, kidding. She knew it, right? Well, so what do we use nails for? Okay, it gives us a tool to use, right? So that we can actually pick up little things or tear little things. Okay, that's why I don't like to cut my nails super short, because I like to be able to actually use them as a tool. Yeah. What else? They are protection. This is one of the most sensitive places on your body, the very tips of your fingers, right? So therefore, let's give a little bit of protection to them, right? That's a good piece. The other thing the book brought up that I had never really thought of is, because this is so sensitive, if I just push on something very small, I can feel it. Like think of a little grain of sand on a table, right? You'd be able to feel that, or a grain of salt. Well, are you comfortable that's pushing the bottom of your skin up, the bottom of your fingertip up but the nail stays in place, right? If it was all fleshy, then the whole end of your finger would move up. Does that make sense? I had never thought of that before. I think that's a very solid reason. So it calls it a counterforce. Like it's providing the stable platform so that if the bottom of your finger moves, your nerves can feel that. Yeah, I agree. I thought that was a very solid piece. Excuse me one second. Okay, sorry. There are some terms here. With the nail body itself, you've got the nail fold where the skin actually comes over. The groove is like the place where you always get those stupid hangnails. The lunule is where the actual cells are reproducing. Okay, on the very proximal end of the nail. Let's use the terms that I'm sure you still remember, right? That's where we're actually producing new nail cells, the nail matrix we call that there, right? And because of that thickness, you see that little white semicircle looking thing, looks like a moon, the lunule, right? That's lunar, same root there. You have this little area of dead skin that overhangs that nail that we call the cuticle. Medically, it has this name that I don't know how to pronounce. Eponychium? Eponychium? Nicium? Yeah, it probably says there. Nicium? Thank you. Any questions there? Pretty straightforward as far as nails go. Sir? Yes.
And like sometimes we just screw up and cut into like the
Yeah.
like how it never goes back.
So depending on if you have a damage that goes down into the root of the nail, I would say that yes, you could certainly lose that nail or not grow back normally. Normally, if you just get down like into the actual cuticle, like where it hurts, like into the actual underneath the nail body, so talking about like in this area right here, it just hurts, but it will still grow back. Usually you have to do damage to the bottom part. My mom, for example, when she was about 22 or so, she dropped a bowling ball on her big toe. And it smashed and it actually destroyed those cells at the root of her big toe nail. So the nail fell off, and she's never had a nail on that toe since. No, it's just she just has no nail on that toe. Yeah. Yeah. It grew back, so the nail fell off. Has anybody else had, like you shut your finger in a door or something, and the whole nail like falls off? Yeah. It's good times. I've done that a couple of times. It hurts like crazy. Yeah. 40. Oh, it's Friday. Shoot, I forgot. All right, listen, guys. Sorry, let me finish. Are you comfortable? We have glands and disorders. Listen. We have glands and disorders. I will record something and post it for you. Because again, I'm not going to be here Thursday and Friday next week. So do make sure you check that out before I see you again next week. Yep. Adios.